Hi, everybody. In this exercise, we're going to talk about foundation recalls and really how I begin teaching them from the ground up. Okay, so the first thing that I want you guys to work on with your dogs, because believe it or not, this is really hard for a lot of dogs, is teaching them just to be comfortable at our sides. Because what this ends up becoming is a foundation recall where we're recalling to our side, to our hand, to heel, whatever you want to call it. It's called different things in different places. It's really just the dogs coming in to our side and being comfortable in that position. The first part of it is teaching them that that's a good place to be. Some dogs find it very intimidating to be at our sides. A lot of dogs, particularly little dogs, there's a lot of pressure there, so they want to be away from our sides. So I do this little exercise with my dogs where I just call them into my side. You can help put them in position if you want, but I just want them comfortable there. You can see I'm doing various things. I'm reaching over, I'm petting, I'm hugging. Of course, it doesn't hurt to have a dog that is a schmoozer, like Moose is. But some dogs don't like that. So if your dog doesn't like petting, it's a good thing to get them just kind of comfortable with tolerating it, because you're going to be doing things at some point like restraining them at your side. So they want to be comfortable with it. But we just want them comfortable with coming in on either side, because some dogs do like one side versus another, particularly if you've been doing a lot of obedience. And sometimes we prefer one side versus the other. So you can see he's just getting cookies. I'm petting him. He's just not allowed to leave on his own. I'm going to take a cookie and then toss it for him and then kind of release him to go to get the cookie and then would reset. Okay, so that's the first step, particularly for those that haven't done that. It's surprising that a lot of people haven't just worked that very basic thing, because we tend to do a lot with our dogs in front and facing us, but not so much with them at our side. So a lot of times we're teaching skills where they're ahead of us, and a good chunk of the time in agility, we want them at our sides. There are times we want them ahead of us. We still want them comfortable being at our sides. All right. Moving on then, I want to start working on hand targetings. Now, this is something that a lot of you have probably done with your dogs already, as you've taught them a very basic touch my hand and you get a cookie. Now, I start this with my dogs with just a treat in that hand. You can be very, very sterile as far as shaping the behavior if you want to. Where you click for the dog looking at it and then moving towards it and then touching it with your nose if you want to. This is a case where I start with just maybe a little bit of luring that gets the behavior initiated. So there's a cookie in that hand. He nose touches it. I mark it with a yes, and he gets the cookie from that hand. All right. Notice also at this point, I'm not giving my recall cue or my hand touch cue. I'm not saying here yet. That comes a little bit later. That comes after I get this behavior more established. So notice what I've done now is I don't have a cookie in this hand. The cookie is in my other hand. So he's nose touching one hand and then getting the cookie out of the other. Now, if you need to kind of make a step before that, it would be exactly what I did there. Let me come back just real briefly, if I can. Is I gave that cookie from that hand. So there's nothing in that hand. He touches it. Oh, there I gave it from the other hand. But you could easily then transfer the cookie into that hand. So they're getting the cookie from the hand. Like I did there. There you go. I kind of skipped a step there. Touch the hand, the cookie comes from that hand. Then later you can do nose touch to the hand and they get the cookie from the other hand. Okay, the cookie doesn't always have to come from the hand that they are touching. Okay, so that tends to be the next step, just initiating that behavior. Now, once you notice that your dog is pretty strong with just coming and touching that hand, and you can anticipate that they're going to, that's of course when you can start attaching your cue. Now, what cue are you going to use? That is the question. All right, a lot of people with puppies have taught this, and they've taught it as touch, bump, nose, whatever, is just a fun little exercise. But then it gets dropped from there. It doesn't get any application in agility. And so it's amazing how many people I work with, and I tell them they need to go strengthen being a destination for their dog, and having a clear defined set of cues for their dog. And I say, well, do you have a nose touch cue? And they're like, oh, sure, I do. And I go, okay, what is it? Well, it's touch. Okay, well, perhaps that's a word you need to use, because screaming here, 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 here does not mean anything to your dog because you haven't taught it. Or touch has also become your 2 on 2 off cue. So now your dog's doubly confused because this word has multiple meanings. All right. So from the beginning, I want to use whatever word I'm going to use on course is the word that I'm using for my hand touch cue. Now, so many people use the word here, and I actually do use the word here, but I'm very clear that I don't say it if I don't mean it. And you've got to be very disciplined if that's the case, because it's does you no good to teach here's your hand touch cue and then be on course going here, 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 come here, right here, over here, the whole time, and never reinforcing it. So if that's the case and that's you either need to be more disciplined about your recall cue or use a different word that you're just not going to be spitting out on course. All right, something for you guys to think about as far as that's concerned. All right, so you guys are getting the idea. He's coming and touching that hand. All right, and at that point, I'm kneeling down on the ground, particularly with the dogs, and I want to go to standing up. And you could, by this point, good boy, I did say here at that one. I'm asking for multiple behaviors in a reward, in sequence. So he's offering several. Maybe toss a cookie to reset. Yes, good. Boom. I do 2 or 3. Good dog. Look at, I'm also working on my dog coming back in behind. So it could be hand touching in front, but also notice that I'm working on him coming and touching my hand back behind me. Boom. Oh, look. All of a sudden, my dog is at my side. It's funny how that happens. And because I've worked on my dog being at my side, he's comfortable in that position. So I'm giving that... a reward for him not only coming and touching my hand, but ending up at my side. Now, to back up a little bit, I want you guys to think about what that end position is going to look like. For a dog that is going to be like a very big strided dog, or super powerful dog, or a dog that's going to have a hard time weight shifting and decelerating, I like this end position to be a sit, because that gives the butt something to do. So they don't, it gives a job, come sit by my side, don't sit perpendicular to me. But it also is teaching a little weight shifting back. So it's helping with some deceleration. Okay, so as I start then coming into working my recalls, I think I do next. Now, if you've got a puppy and you don't have a stay yet, don't worry. You could have somebody hold your puppy, or you could toss a cookie away from you to get your dog set up into this. So don't feel like you have to have a stay. It's just easier for me when I'm doing this to demo to put him in a stay. Now we start coming into a little bit of what is considered an extension recall. And I'm just working him coming into my side. Notice he's coming in. I'm getting that sit. So I have worked this with my dogs to be an automatic sit. And after you do it enough, the sit actually just ends up happening automatically. If you need to get them in and then sit, that's fine. Or then give a sit cue, that's fine. But you want to do away with that fairly quickly. Or you may not want to do that sit at all, which is perfectly fine. But I still want you to be very disciplined about the fact that they need to be at your side, parallel to you, and not perpendicular to you, facing you. Also notice that I release from that position. So him coming into my side is like kind of a end behavior. All right. And then I want to be able to release off of it. In agility, I might be releasing to the next obstacle. All right. I'm never in a course going to stop and have my dog actually sit at my side. I'm going to be redirecting off to something, but I want my dog to know if I'm decelerating or stopping, it does mean slow down, and I could have you stop at my side. All right, so a couple things to notice on these. That's something you're going to have to pay attention to, as the dogs are going to be pretty quick and anticipating that. Good dog. And release. And look how I'm using my here cue to help get him lined up at my side again. Good. Couple things on that's very important. Notice I'm not moving out to him. He's coming into my side and into that position. And I'm giving a good reward. So my dog is understanding that reward is separate from release. And then I reset. Like I said, you don't have to put your dog in a sit stay on this. It's really ideal if you have a puppy that doesn't know this yet, just to toss a cookie to line them up into it. But notice I'm getting a nice close tuck into my side on these, and then a release off of it. Good job. All right, what a good dog. Then as your dog is more comfortable, you can do bigger and bigger distances, up to 10, 15, 20 feet. Oh, there's the other thing. You also want to make sure you can get that same behavior without a treat in the hand. So don't forget, you actually are doing a recall to that hand so that your dog should come to that hand and nose touch it without having the lure of a cookie. So many dogs will do a recall as long as you've got a treat or a toy in that hand. And as soon as those aren't there and the dog knows they aren't there, there is no recall. All right. So this assigns the dog a task. Come touch your nose to my hand. All right, to make it a little bit clearer for them. Okay, so that kind of gets us started on these foundation recalls. Again, if you have a puppy, don't feel like you've got to get to this point yet. You want to play with being comfortable at your side and nose touching at your hand. Don't feel like you've got to lead into this yet, but you can certainly even do some of that with little puppies, just not have all this great big expectation of them at this point. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.